This week, I'm very happy to welcome on the eighth overall pick to the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 1992 NHL entry draft. He played for the Leafs, the Kings, and the Canucks, and I feel like we're friends now, so I'm really happy to have you here. Welcome to the show, Brandon Convery. Brandon, what's going on?
Not much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out right off the bat to Eric Weinberger. He connected us. You guys are old friends, so if you want to tell that story quick or how you guys know each other.
He's a big hockey guy, big Union guy. So I had a chance to spend a lot of time with him on the West Coast, and I know his kids are heavily involved in hockey, and that's how we got connected. And he's been very successful in the sports world and running the NFL Network and various amongst other things that he's doing. So great guy, great to help out, and glad he connected us together.
And speaking of being involved in the game still, you're relatively involved. You mentor young players. What made you want to give back to, the young hockey community?
Well, it's always tough when when you're finishing playing, you either stay involved in the game on a scouting or coaching capacity. I started my own
podcasting.
Yeah. Or podcasting, but I started my own mentor group. I did leadership seminars with some of the top players in the U.S. And then from those seminars, I had a private group of kids that I worked with and try to do some things that I would do differently, maybe if I had the chance to do it over again. And from there, I would pass them on to various agents. And, some of them are playing in the NHL right now. So, I kept my hand in it. And obviously now what I'm doing in the insurance side, it's we're heavy in the sports world on the disability side and offering life insurance to a lot of pro athletes. So it's good that I'm familiar from that sense. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, are there any kids? I mean, you mentioned that you have some kids that you mentor that are now in the NHL. Any household names that we would know?
Well, Kyler Yamamoto in Edmonton.
Yep. That's a good one.
He's done pretty well for himself. He just signed a new deal, 1-year deal, I think, kind of a bridge deal, but hopefully he can, have a great year and set himself up. He's a good young player on a very talented team, as we all know. So, yeah.
Spokane Chiefs, right?
You got it.
Spokane Chiefs. Yeah.
He's an American boy.
My roommate from junior was a big Spokane fan because he grew up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So he always talked about Tyler Johnson and Yamamoto. He always skated with them in the summers.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, he always brought that up. That he did train with all those guys who were on the West Coast there. Yeah,
That's right. It's funny too because this is so off topic, but Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, apparently is becoming like a really popular area for like retired athletes to kind of chill and hang out in.
Yeah, it's part of the Discovery property. So I know Gretzky and maybe some of the other guys have been there, but there's a lot of guys that have places up there. It's a beautiful place. I've never been there. Everyone said how great it is. I've always stuck to Eastern Canada in the summer. That's kind of our spot to go to.
Yeah.
But they do a great job. The Discovery properties are phenomenal. That's top class. Yeah,
you should definitely go. I went for his wedding. It was unbelievable. It was so nice.
Yeah. I've been to the Summit. Yeah, I've been to the Summit in Vegas. That's their other property, and they are top. That's as good as it's getting.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I do want to transition back to just how you kind of mentor players and everything. And I know you're kind of used to mentoring the younger guys, but I feel like when you look at the landscape of the NHL now, it's somewhat dominant by younger players. So I feel like for you, is there, been any scenarios or any situations where you're giving advice to the older players in the NHL that are trying to transition and rediscover their game in order to stay in the game?
I haven't. I mean, I basically just focused on, my industry. Most of the times we don't get to speak to the players directly. It's either through their, business managers or CPAs, that type of thing, or wealth managers. But, the league has definitely switched. I mean, when I played in the 90s, it was a 30-some-year-old league. And, there's a few guys that were in their early 20s. And now it's a young kid's game now. So, I think the guys that once you're in your 30s, you're just trying to fit in and survive and extend a few more years if possible. Yeah, it's a little different.
It's super crazy. And for me as a Ranger fan, like Alexis Lafreniere last week, came out to the media and held himself accountable for not performing. And he hasn't even played 82 games yet in the NHL. He's a number 1 overall draft pick. He's 20 years old. Like, for them to put so much pressure on themselves, I'm sure you'd have like amazing advice for a young kid like that,
Yeah, it's these guys are trained pretty well. Nowadays they come into the league and they seem to be put together a little bit more than probably when I came up in the early '90s. There's just so many people that are involved helping out, and as we all know in the hockey world, what's going on now. I mean, there's you got to make sure you're saying and doing the right thing, and these guys seem to be mature in what they're doing, and they're obviously preparing them the right way.
So I want to go back to your playing career a little bit too in the early '90s. What was your pregame regiment? Are you drinking Diet Coke in the locker room in between periods? I mean, now it's ridiculous, it's just the stories I hear from the old days are insane to think about now.
Yeah, no, it was all Sudafed and coffee back in the days when I played. So it was a little different. I mean, everything has come so far so quickly. I mean, from dietitians to performance. These guys are in great shape. And, when we played, it was more you come to camp and get into shape. Training camp seemed to last a little bit longer before you actually played some games. Now they get to camp 3 days later, they're playing exhibition games. So it's, these guys are premier athletes and on the ball on everything.
I played for John LaFontaine in junior, who's Pat's brother, and he told us back in the day that you guys weren't even training your legs. No one even knew that. No one even knew back squatting or front squatting was a thing.
Well, I mean, I think I'm getting a little bit older, but I mean, we, personally, we trained hard. We rode the bike a lot and trained pretty hard. I think, but it wasn't until after that I think more the diet part of it kicked in, and maybe a little bit smarter training, as opposed to, the way we train with posture and things like that probably wasn't so conducive to how we're probably going to end up down the road. But these guys now, they got so much help and so many resources around them, and I think financially, they make a lot of money and they can source out those resources in order for them to perform at the top of their game.
So what were guys in your day doing during the summer? Because now everyone's at Prentice in Connecticut. That's where all the elite guys pretty much go. But everyone's in the gym 6-7 days a week. I don't know what it was like back then.
Yeah. I mean, it was similar. I mean, we probably had about 10 NHL guys from my hometown in Kingston that all lived there in the summertime. It was hard.
Any familiar names?
Well, I mean, Gord Murphy, who's the assistant coach there now with the Rangers, Kirk Muller, Doug Gilmore, Andy Sutton, Brian Allen. There was a lot of guys, but we all got together, Terry Karkner. So we all got together. We skated maybe 2 or 3 times as we got closer to training camp. Obviously we're on the ice a little bit more, but it was tough. It was 6 out of 7 days training. So like I said, I think what's changed is people have gotten a little bit smarter on how they recover. And maybe, when we were going at it, there were long days, and not to say that there's not now. I just think they're a lot more informed and more efficient in what they're doing. And obviously with the recoup, they have a lot more resources to get back at it the next day.
Who were some of your favorite guys to hang out with outside of the rink?
Well, we had a pretty good crew in junior. I mean, Jamie Storr, Glenn Murray. I mean, we all live out in LA prior to me moving this past year, but, we all retired, and those two are still involved. Glenn Murray's, I think third in command with the LA Kings, and Jamie Storr is heavily involved, owns a junior team in Ontario. So those were guys that we played with together at junior, and we remained good friends. And Anson Carter's always on TV, and we played the World Juniors together and won it together. I'm always texting him and seeing what outfits he's got on there. And, we can razz him. So, but there's a lot of guys, and it's good to run into them.
Well, I know you're in Nashville now, and you were telling me prior to recording that you play in a pickup game every now and then. I think, what was it, 10 a.m. on Wednesdays or something like that?
Yeah, there's a big group here. I mean, I didn't realize how many guys when I moved here actually live here post playing days, whether, they didn't have to necessarily play for the Predators, but there's a big group. I mean, it's a beautiful place to live. It's funny, Andy Sutton's from my hometown. I ran into him just around the corner from my house, and that's how I found out about the skate. So, yeah, every Wednesday, if you want to go, they're there at 10 o'clock, and it's a pretty good following.
Who are some other guys that you're skating with at that skate?
JP Dumont, Ryan Smith, Martin Erat, Andy Sutton. There's a handful.
Is there hitting?
Yeah. There's no hitting. There never was any hitting.
Yeah.
I was an offensive player. Hal Gill's out there. I mean, he looks like he could play today. He's a monster still. So, yeah.
Is there any water on the bench? Or you guys just strictly beer?
I'll tell you what, I went out the first time. I hadn't put skates on since a charity event with Luke Robitaille, and a guy next to me started talking to me, and I was like, "What? Stop talking to me.
I can't breathe.
I can't breathe right now." So that was, I haven't even been out since. So. Yeah,
it's so crazy to think too, and I got a text from a friend who works in the East Coast Hockey League this week. He said, like, we need some roster spots, want to come play. I was like, I haven't played in a competitive game in like 2 years. There's no chance I'm putting myself through that.
Yeah, no, I think hockey's like no other. I was just talking to Andy Sutton the other day, and he said, like, I hated days off when I did play because you take one day off and go back the next day. It felt like you took 3 weeks off. So it's just a unique sport. You can train all you want off the ice. It's just, there's nothing that compares to, actually skating, when you're on the ice.
I would say that all the time. It's like this sport is it's the hardest to get in shape and the easiest to get out of it.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
I'm confident in myself. Like I used to play basketball growing up, and I hop in a pickup basketball game now with my friends who play basketball for the last 15 years, and I can still keep up. But hockey, take a year or two off.
Yeah,
oh good luck. Yeah, it's brutal. So, I asked you some of your favorite guys to hang out with away from the rink, but who are some of your favorite guys to watch in the NHL right now?
Well, obviously McDavid. I mean, looking at the Rangers, Fox, he's a pretty exciting player to watch. Kind of reminds me of Zubov. That's kind of, my era. He was pretty shifty and crafty with the puck, but there's some great young players in the game, and it's fun. But I'm still a little bit Sidney Crosby old school, but Connor McDavid is just, he is fun to watch, whether you're an Oilers fan or not. It's just, how can you not like watching him for, a couple hours?
Yeah, I don't know if you are into sports betting, but I like to sports bet here and there. And I took the Oilers -1.5 tonight because I feel like McDavid's going to go off.
Yeah, no, it's a good bet. Anytime he's playing, I would definitely put my money with him. Yeah, he's outstanding.
And the Preds are starting their like third string goalie, so I'm really excited to watch what he does tonight.
No, he'll probably go off for sure for a few anyway.
Yeah, it's funny too that you mentioned Sergey Zubov, because I think I'm pretty friendly with Adam. I talk about it every episode, but give you a background. But I'm pretty sure Adam's dad, who was a Ranger season ticket holder, his favorite player was Zubov. So to hear that comparison is so cool.
Yeah, he's he's a game changer. It's very rare to see that in today's game, a defenseman to control the game as much as he does. So he when I see him play, he's definitely. Zubov just didn't even move. He would make you turn and go the other way, and he would just still be there with the puck. He's got a bright future ahead of him. The Ranger fans should be very excited for many years to come.
Is there anyone that you would compare yourself to in today's game, like style of play or even personality, from what you've seen?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't actually watch enough to probably answer that. Steve Yzerman was my idol growing up. That's who kind of I mimicked my game after. My first NHL game, my first goal was against Steve Yzerman.
Pretty cool.
But, guys like that were more my style of play. Guys nowadays, they're big and fast and skilled, and, there's so many good ones.
I like asking, the older guys, if you were to, step on the ice right now in the NHL, like how many seconds would you last out there?
Well, in the pickup game, I lasted 20 or 25. So that just should give you the answer.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is when you sit up close too. It's like I like to sit higher because I like to watch the play develop and stuff. But when you sit up close, man, like it is the fastest game.
It's quick. It is so quick. You don't have to be a great skater at all to play in the game. You got to be quick. So it's just, you got to keep up and adapt, and the game's changed year after year. The ones that don't adapt aren't going to survive that long in that atmosphere.
Yeah. Who was a tough? I mean, obviously Gretzky's probably the answer, but who's like the toughest player for you to match up against in your day?
Mario Lemieux, hands down. I mean, Mario was so big and could do everything like Gretzky could. Funny story. I mean, when we played my year, we played Gretzky when he was in St. Louis. The following year, he went to the Rangers. And the year before, I was like, he's not, he's smaller. He really doesn't get involved, Played him the next year. I think he had 4 or 5 points in Bleav Gardens. I was like, he's not that bad. He still got it. But
proved you wrong.
There were so many. My era, it was almost, I was in awe of all the players. You know what I mean? You had Messier and, these guys that you grew up idolizing and getting to play against them. Sometimes you get caught looking at them. And, but Mario was just, I mean, he was so big and so smooth. It was just so tough to defend against him.
I'm from Syosset, Long Island, and I was eating dinner with my grandparents. They were in town, like visiting, staying at the Fox Hollow Hotel, like down the street. And I'm eating with them, and I look like behind them, and I see Ron Duguay like at the bar. Obviously my mom was like, go order a beer and like just shoot the shit with him, try to talk to him. So I order a beer, and the person to my right, I'm talking to him. And I'm like, these a bunch of former NHL players? He goes, yeah, like we're here for the Clark Gillies golf tournament. The guy to my right, Mike Ruzioni. Yeah. And he goes, look who's walking in right now. And it was Mario. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I was like in, shorts and a t-shirt and flip flops. I'm just like sitting there getting a Bud Light, like pretending to drink it.
Well, it was a golf tournament, Mario. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I know, these guys are pretty good golfers. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was the most starstruck I've ever been. Just like seeing him walk around. It was crazy.
No doubt. That's I mean, even for me, playing it would be, that was a joy for sure playing against him. It wasn't fun when he was making me look bad, but yeah.
Definitely not. And I want to go back to you and your mentoring a little bit. As a former first round pick, I know there's a lot of pressure now on these young guys to come in and be confident, the first overall, second overall, whatever you want to call it. Like, guys like Capo Caco, Alexis Lafreniere, they have such high expectations right away. And, some fans get disappointed when they don't perform or don't have 20 goals and, they're 19, 20-year-old kids. Like, what advice would you give to those guys just as a, first overall draft pick? Did you feel that pressure when you were drafted right away?
Yeah, I mean, I think Toronto's a tough market. I mean, it was a little different when I played. I mean, again, it was an older league. I mean, now these guys are walking in and contributing right away. I think for those kids to be patient, you got to understand these guys are used to having success probably from, 5, 6, 7 years old all the way up. They're probably been the top player on their team at every age group. So once they get drafted and get in that environment, sometimes there's a few bumps where, hey, there's some other good players that are around them, and maybe they don't have that success that they're used to. So, having that patience and surrounding yourself with, some leaders that are going to calm you down and just to remain focused and do what you do best. I think, like I say, I think now they're throwing them in, they're getting opportunities. I think good players adapt quickly. And I think the organizations that succeed in that league surround their top players and to make sure that, they're able to perform at the expectations that everyone has for them. So, I just, patience is a huge key. And it's that's not easier said than done, right? Everyone wants to win now. Everyone wants to perform now. And, but hopefully, Drury's running the show there. He's pretty experienced and had success, and everyone talks highly about what he does away from the ice. So hopefully they're on the right path.
It's also crazy. Like, my dad always told me, you gotta be the most confident guy out there. Like, you're nothing without confidence. And, you kind of see these young guys come in and maybe they're not that confident because they're not producing right away, but, they have so much swagger about them, when they're in the minors or, go back to junior, whatever it might be. But, for you, I know you touched on confidence in one of your YouTube videos that I watched. You talk all about confidence, how it's everything. And, you kind of see it now with the guys who are performing like Foxy, won the Norris last year. And now he looks 10 times better than he did last year, just all the confidence. So how would you literally like put it in someone's mind to just go out there and like literally be the cockiest guy on the ice? It's such a hard mentality to have.
Yeah. And I think, again, when I came into the league, it was more, maybe I was in too awe of all the players around me. And so, I mean, for these guys coming in the league, they have to Bleav in themselves, that have certainty that, I can play and can contribute. There's a reason why these guys are selected as high as they are. There's no secret. They probably have had more skill. They've been able to put it together quicker than other kids. So, if you don't have the confidence in that environment, you're not going to last long. And I think teams have done a lot better job at supporting young players, in today's game, so they can succeed. I mean, these teams have huge investments in these guys, on a salary standpoint. So, you can't have too many misses nowadays.
Can you also Bleav like what the media has become? Like, could you imagine yourself today in the Toronto media? Like, it's insane.
No, because I thought it was insane when I thought it was insane when I played there. I can't even imagine, in New York and Toronto, these type of markets. I mean, there's a lot of upside, but there's also, if you don't start out well, there can be some holes to dig out of. And so, I'm glad that, they're off to a good start. They got some, promising young players, and I think they have the right, Gerard, the leadership there. Everyone seems to like him on other teams that played for him. And so hopefully he can continue to support the young kids, and the Rangers can get back to the success they had in the mid 90s.
Yeah. And I want to ask you about the three cities you played in. Like, can you rank them from favorite to least favorite, and why?
Well,
it doesn't have to be hockey related.
I loved Vancouver is it's one of my favorite cities of all time. It's beautiful there, and I loved it. Listen, I don't regret anything. I mean, Toronto was not my favorite team growing up. I was a huge Bruins fan as a youth. Wasn't a big Leaf fan, but it was kind of a dream come true getting selected. It's an iconic team. It's like the Yankees of Canada, so it's, and my time in LA was quick from a playing standpoint. So, but, my children were born there. We stayed there for 20 years. My wife was working, made a lot of great friends. I wouldn't be on this show if I wasn't there, through Eric. So I don't regret anything. I mean, Vancouver, though, it's a beautiful city. And, if you haven't been there, you definitely got to go there. It's a great place, especially when it's sunny. When it's raining, not so much.
I've heard it's awesome in the summer. I would love to go there in the summer. I went in like March, I think, like back in 2014. It was like kind of cold, but I could tell.
Yeah. When it rains there, you might not see the sun for a couple of months. Yeah.
Definitely not. So if you can plot yourself right now into one lineup, maybe not Boston, because you kind of said you're a Boston homer.
Yeah, no, I've Oilers all day long.
Really?
The way they play with some of the talent that they have there. Man, oh man, that would be a fun place to play if you're an offensive player.
But you want to live there?
No, I don't. I would not want to live there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, where would I want to live and play?
I guess, yeah. Like, maybe I'll try to pick a good age. Like, how old were you when you had your kids? Let's go. Maybe
30s.
before you're married, and when you have kids. Pick one each time frame.
Well,
before you're married, you're gonna pick Vegas probably.
Oh yeah, I mean Vegas. They put on a great. Yeah, I mean everyone loves going there. They get everyone hung over, and I mean that'd be a great place to play, just from every which way you look at it, from taxes and everything. But I mean, listen, playing in New York Rangers, just everything that comes with it.
You don't have to say that because it's a show.
No, but I mean, I know. I mean, Toronto was kind of the mecca of Canada. I mean, if you're winning and you're on the Rangers, I mean, that's a pretty big thing. But love Chicago, another great city. I mean, any of the sports fans, it was so difficult when I went to LA. I got there, it was like flip-flops and board shorts were going into the Forum. It was like, it was a hard time getting into it. You know what I mean? It was different coming from Toronto and Vancouver, where it's just hockey. And then you get in those environments, you got to have your head screwed on a little tighter, to perform.
You sit courtside the Lakers game ever?
Not courtside, pretty close though.
Yeah.
So we used to go to a lot of games when I first got there. Yeah, it was fun times.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, obviously we didn't make the playoffs then. We weren't very good. So we were out early and going to other sporting events and caught a lot of basketball games.
I'm a big NBA fan. I love the NBA.
Yeah, well, your Knicks are better too. So
Yeah.
you know, Rangers and Knicks have turned around a little bit.
Yeah, I'm hoping for another spring of '94. I've never been able to experience that. Everyone talks about how great it was. The Knicks in the finals, Rangers in the finals. I need that in my life.
I can tell you my most vivid memory of Madison Square Garden was Ryan Vanderbush knocking out Nick Kypreos right in front of our bench. I think it ended Kypreos' career.
Really?
Like that is the most. That's my last memory of Madison Square Gardens. Right in front of our bench. I don't know. You're maybe too young to remember Ryan Vandenbush. He was not a big player, but man, was he tough.
I don't remember him, but I definitely remember Kypreos. I mean, I'd never watched them play, like obviously, but you know, I've seen the name a bunch. I guess any other Madison Square Garden stories that stand out?
That one. I mean, you know, the only time is the Maple Leaf Gardens was the last one when Gretzky was there. I told you, he lit us up. He had 4 or 5 points, but you know. I don't know. I think, you know, I had Messier out in Vancouver. It was a joy to be around him. I think it was probably a challenge for him. He was like 40 years old hanging around with 28 and 25-year-old guys. But I can't even imagine how he was as a player even 15 years earlier, because he could still skate at 40. So, you know, and Keenan and Brian Noonan, those guys all came to Vancouver that were part of the championship in '94 there. But I'm sure you could tell or have anyone on here talking about Mike Keenan stories all day long.
Yeah, no, I've always loved hearing those stories. It sounds pretty insane.
Yeah, he was a beauty.
But I guess, what's your favorite NHL story that you have? Might be hard to pick one, but
the funniest story, there was a player that played with us in Toronto that one day wasn't playing. He was a veteran player. I won't say his name. In Vancouver, you go out on the visiting bench. You go out through the middle of the bench. Okay, normally you go out one end and go onto the bench. During the play, he was at the bar all day. So during the play, we hear this guy yelling at one of our players, like, "Skate, Freddie!" It was Freddie Modine. "Skate, Freddie!"
I'm not going to say who it is.
No, Freddie was on the ice. So it wasn't Freddie that was yelling it.
Okay.
And all of us turn around all at once, and we look at it, and there it was. He was the guy that was sitting out, a veteran guy, was sitting out that day, but was at the bar all day, and came on the bench and started yelling at our own.
That's unreal. That would never happen in today's game.
I mean, people are like, would that ever happen? No. I was like, where am I right now? But that was a funny story. But obviously scoring my first goal was the highlight of my career, and it was against, like I said, it was my first game against Detroit Red Wings, which my idol was Steve Yzerman. So I mean, it was, that whole day was, for me, it was the highlight of my career, definitely.
Who was in net for Detroit?
Chris Osgood.
Osgood, really? Wow.
Yeah,
that's a legendary name for the Long Island people. He was an Islander.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, the Red Wings were so good. I mean, that was Fedorov and Yzerman in those days. So there was a lot of good teams and a lot of fun teams for a young kid and that grew up in Canada to play against some guys that I idolized growing up watching.
Is that goal on YouTube? I got to find that to post that.
I can't find it. My kids don't even think I play hockey. So I'm trying to find stuff. I'm like, I can't even find it myself. I think my parents have it, obviously at back home on video, but I have all my old jerseys. I don't have any of them up on a wall yet, but I think I need to do that. Just maybe I'll prove to my kids I actually did play once upon a time.
That's one more thing I kind of want your thought on too. I absolutely hate it, but I mean, I get why it's necessary. Like the iPads on the bench thing, like how players can like watch their, like you're supposed to like put that behind you and go to the next shift. You know what I mean? Like watch it in between periods. Like
it's just different. It's just the times,
so micromanaged.
I mean, I mean, in every sense. I mean, everything's in every sport. I mean, I don't agree with it. I like thinking on your own and reacting, and that's just a way of being the creative process of it. Some guys maybe needed a little bit more help. Generally offensive guys can see things that others can't, but these guys are well supported, and you should be able to adapt and learn pretty quickly with all the tools that they have and resources they have.
Yeah. Before I let you go, is there anything you want to like plug or talk about?
Oh, this is great. I'm glad that I was on. I mean, I think it's great that you're still involved in hockey and supporting the Rangers and providing probably have some great guests. I know you're younger in your career at this, but what a great thing for Ranger fans to be a part of and get to maybe learn. I mean, obviously I didn't play with the Rangers, but we talk about stories and things like that. We're all part of one big family, the hockey world.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. It is a fraternity. That's like the one thing I've learned my entire life.
Yeah.
Who's your pick to win the Stanley Cup before you go?
Woo. You know what?
Are you say Toronto?
I am not taking no. I'm gonna go with the Oilers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if they get over the hump.
Okay.
I don't know. But Mike Smith from my hometown's a goalie. He's the goaltender there. I think they're like the Indianapolis Colts playing against the Patriots back in the day when they couldn't beat them, and then finally they beat them and got over the hump. McDavid's got to have a breakout year. So I think Tampa. To win again. You're going back to the Islander days of 4 in a row. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's crazy that you say McDavid's got to have a breakout year. He had like 100 points in 50 games last year.
He's got to do more. He's
not good enough.
No. High expectations. Yeah. We set high things in Canada. We got high standards there.
Well, he might break the 200-point mark this year.
I know. That's incredible.
Can you imagine?
The only other guy that I thought was the most talented player that I played with was Alexander McGillney. He scored 72 goals one year.
He was sick.
That's insane.
Didn't he do that like his rookie year? Didn't he? Or was that Timo? Timo had like 60 goals his rookie year or something.
Yeah. But Alex, that was early in his career. Pavel Bure and him. Wow.
Yeah, McGillney was sick. I remember him on the Devils for quite a bit.
Yeah, that was at the end of his career. That guy, he could do everything when he wanted to. He'd show up to morning skate wearing golf shoes. He's just one of those guys. But a lot of talented guys. You can go on and on. Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for coming on, though. Definitely want to have you on maybe again if the Oilers are in a playoff run. We can talk about it.
Let's circle back on this. We'll see if I picked right.
Well, it's all recorded, so I got the proof.
Thanks a lot, John.
Appreciate it.